All right, here we go, and we are live. So last night, Ukraine struck a Russian city, and then Putin issues a nuclear warning. And this morning, the markets were rattled. Looking at this of what's happening here, geopolitical tensions. So the VIX rallies above 16, and then also we have news from Walmart and Lowe, some earnings news. So a lot going on. And with that said, let's get started. Today is Tuesday, November 19th. Welcome to Coffee with Markus and Mark. And in this show, we are going to talk to you about what's happening in the markets and how we are trading it. And gosh, Mark, this morning, I mean, shocker on geopolitical. Yeah, I mean, basically out of Russia.
Yeah, interesting to see such uh, a quick pullback pre-market. When I took a look at things this morning, the mini S&P 500 was down 1%. And at first, I hadn't read the headline, and I was wondering, what caused such a big drop? Because a 1% plus drop's always going to be notable. And I knew there really weren't any major reports coming out. And yeah, you look at that chart and had to research this a little bit more, and it definitely was tied to some uncertainty and concerns between Ukraine and Russia and the U.S.
Yeah, so let's unpack this. At this time, right here, when we saw the markets moving lower, this is when Ukraine attacked a Russian city with weapons that were supplied by the US. And this is after on Sunday, President Biden allows Ukraine to use US supplied arms to strike inside Russia. Until then, it was like, okay, you can defend yourselves, but don't go into the offense. However, this has changed on Sunday, where Biden said, all right, sure, you go ahead. And then today, Ukraine did it. This is when Putin said, all right, hold on. So I'm going to change a few things here. And this is the nuclear doctrine. And previously, it basically read that, okay, if somebody strikes Russia with nuclear weapons, that Russia would retaliate with nuclear weapons. Now it has changed to if somebody attacks Russia with the use of conventional weapons that created a threat to their sovereignty and their territorial integrity. There you go. That Russia can retaliate. And then also another change here is aggression against the Russian Federation or its allies on the part of any non-nuclear state with the participation or support of a nuclear state. Long story short,
Yeah.
what does it mean? Well, after Biden told Ukraine, all right, you can attack Russia on their soil, Putin said this morning, well, if that's the case, we can now retaliate with a nuclear weapon. And this is where markets this morning said, wait a minute. So after we saw the first attack and then this doctrine change, markets were, as you said, Mark, down. I mean, no surprise. The VIX, uncertainty, right? Jumping up. And you see that this morning, VIX jumping almost to 18 because, yeah, there's a lot going on. But right now, if as we look at the markets, and we can go back to the E-mini, markets are kind of shrugging it off right now.
Yeah, and I think this is where there was that initial overreaction. It's significant, but the headlines, the fear, all of a sudden this is the news, right? We were talking about the election and the reaction there, and then we were talking about PAL, and now that's behind us, and NVIDIA is the big thing coming up Wednesday. But all of a sudden, there's this new, reemergence of geopolitical tension and issues, and so that definitely caught the markets off guard, I think. But then once investors really started to digest things, I don't think that there was really as much fear as the initial overreaction showed. And part of this, I think we saw in the commodity markets. Marcus, you brought it up during our mastermind call when you noted gold in particular, and also crude oil. Crude oil moved a little bit, but if this was a bigger issue where investors were super concerned, then typically what you would see is this flight to safety. Gold would be spiking, and gold was up a little bit, but not in a significant way at all. And I think that kind of told the bigger story, and that's also why we saw a snapback, and now the S&P positive for the trading session.
Right, because this morning when markets opened, it was like, okay, wait, is he serious? Is he really going to attack Ukraine with nuclear weapons? And then, no, he's just rattling his swords or what, whatever you say there, right? I mean,
Saber rattling.
it's a reaction because he has to somehow react to the news that we received over the weekend here. And this were, yeah, I mean, gold, we're on a 5-minute chart here, initially moved higher, now retracing. Gold right now still up half a percentage point, but crude oil, after spiking, now down, and also natural gas. And we know that Russia is just a major natural gas producer and crude oil producer. And this is where we see, okay, in the commodities markets, and also when we look at the VIX right now, pulling back after the initial shock, investors just think, okay, it's just politics and nothing will happen. And again, might be a little bit too optimistic, but this is what traders do. And hey, all we do here is basically show you what we see, not what we think, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. We have these mugs, and this is what we are seeing in the markets right now. Yeah, and what we are seeing in the markets is we are bouncing back right now. The Nasdaq already positive for the day. The S&P just about to turn positive. The Dow still down. The Russell also just about to turn positive.
So interesting little shakeup, and we'll see what the rest of the day brings. But there are some stocks on the move.
There are some stocks on the move. And I mean, first of all, on the move, NVIDIA today. NVIDIA will report earnings tomorrow after the bell. And everybody wants to know what's happening there. But then we also have news from Walmart and from Lowe's. Let's take a look at this. So let's get started with Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart up big here. Huge move for them. They beat on earnings. They also beat on revenue. They said that they actually increased their guidance. They expect it to be better with consumers spending a little more. Well, their discretionary spending has increased, and they also expect an uptick in holiday spending.
Yeah, so Walmart doing great, trading at all-time highs, jumping 4% this morning. I mean, what's going to stop Walmart here? Kind of crazy. On the other hand, we also had Lowe's reporting earnings, and Lowe's, different story here.
Yeah, and I mean this is where they did have an earnings beat. They also had a revenue beat. And Marcus, I was there a guidance change there?
It's guidance change. Exactly. It's got very similar to Home Depot. We heard it last week, or yeah, it was last week, where Home Depot basically said, yeah, we are doing good. However, consumers are still holding off on big projects. And I mean, the big projects are obviously what is bringing the money in. I mean, it's not when you're buying a little bit new fittings, it's when you're building a new deck, when you're building a house extension, when you're, I don't know, building sheds and something like this, right? This is what's bringing
Yeah.
the money to Home Depot and Walmart. And not Walmart, Lowe's. And this were also Lowe's said, yeah, we see the same that Home Depot says. So we're lowering our guidance a little bit. We do believe that sales will still decline. So here, I mean, when a company beats earnings or beats expectations, it doesn't mean that they are up in sales. And that's the other important thing to know, right? I mean, this is just that, okay, it is expected by analysts, but I think year over year, sales were down.
And they expect that to be the case, I believe, for the next year too. So
Right.
investors taking some profits there potentially, and that leading to a drop.
Yeah. So that's what's going on. Let's take a look at our positions. Let's take a look at this here first and see how this morning's events are impacting Fed's funds traders and the probabilities. We still have kind of a 60-40 split that the Fed will lower interest rates at the next meeting. So this morning's events haven't had a major impact on the bond market just yet. So we'll see if anything happens. So the next Fed meeting in a little bit less than a month. So it will be tomorrow in 4 weeks.
It's going to be an interesting one.
All right. Let's take a look at our positions. And we start with the WTF positions. And this morning we had 2 exits. The first one, AMT, American Tower. This is one that you have been in.
Yep.
I decided not to trade it. You entered at around 200 and exited this morning at what?
Oh, it was 199.22, I think it was.
Yeah, I
or
mean,
something.
basically just a few cents down. So super small
Yeah,
loss here.
199.25.
199 what?
199.25. So this
199.25.
one, it
Yeah.
was an OBE for me. Yeah, I got in at 200. It's a small loss on this.
Yeah. CG, another exit. We did not trade it, but we do have an exit here this morning. Let me just quickly refresh it here so that we see the live data. So if you had taken this one, well, it would have worked out because, oh no, it's kind of would have been a wash. Entering at 230, right now trading at 232, but it was lower in the open. No new signals here, but we do have 2 open signals. One of them being IBM, and IBM right now are doing quite well. So we entered at just shy of 207. I think I entered at 20. Oh, there it is. 206, 86. You had an even better entry. Right now trading at 208.14. So doing good here on this one.
Yeah.
All right. And we both decided to skip ILMN. Illumina, the entry was yesterday at 135, right now trading at 132. So a little bit light here. So with this, I mean, Mark, we're just in one position right now. So let's see if we can get a few more over the next few days.
Waiting for some signals.
Yeah. On the other hand, on the wheel, we are pretty full here on the wheel. And first up, BP. BP, let's see. A little bit down again this morning, minus 1.4%.
Yeah, pulling back a little bit after yesterday.
Yeah, nothing to do. We'll wait and see. Let's move to our other oil stock, Halliburton, doing a little bit better here. So just about the unchanged mark, and Halliburton is trying to attack the 31 level. First attack here. Second attack, and right now we're gathering the troops, Mark, to really break through this resistance here. Resistance is futile.
Yeah, support around 30, holding up. And so I like that, but now we just want to see it break through that 31 level.
Yeah. All right, CSIQ, we talked about this. With rates being higher for longer, CSIQ is taking a hit. Today, slightly down 0.45%, hanging out there. Now deciding that they want to hang out at around the 11 level. Coles a little bit surprising this morning, opening lower. I thought that Coles would be more in line with Walmart, and that as Walmart is making new all-time highs, that Coles would participate, still down 0.3%, but all moving off session lows here. Nothing for me to do, but I'm a little bit surprised by this. Seems that traders and investors are waiting for Coles to report earnings, which will happen on November 26th in 7 days from now.
Looks like it.
All right. Merck. I mean, Merck right now down a little bit again, was moving higher this morning. I mean, at some point, this slide will be stopped because, I mean, we have a super solid dividend yield here. We have a good PE. We have a pretty good EPS, earnings per share. I mean, This is just a potential buy right now, this slide, probably being caused by how we see the new administration will form right now and uncertainty. How does this affect pharma stocks? And especially, I saw this morning, I mean, Mark, we talked about it with Robert F. Kennedy being the new health director. No, what was it again?
Uh, health and oh my
Right.
gosh, now
Exactly. Long story short,
yeah.
somebody who is against vaccines. So this is where pharma companies are thinking, and then also we don't know yet what will happen to the healthcare system next year under the new administration. And this is where there's some uncertainty. And this is where we see a slide here in Merck. But not too concerned. Super solid stock. It'll bounce back just right now in this trade for longer than I want it to be. And finally, Mark, UPS having a phenomenal day yesterday, and today, hang in there.
Yeah, yeah. So down a tiny bit, but yesterday an outstanding day considering the ex-dividend date and that buck 63, yeah, buck 63 that we'll receive on December 5th.
Yeah. We
And
see that
for
UPS
RFK,
now, yeah, UPS now
it was
establishing a
human
new range.
services.
I'm sorry, I'm talking over you. I see. It seems that we have a short delay here. Dang it.
What I'm saying is not that important, but because it was driving me crazy, it was RFK being appointed to the Health and Services Director of Health and Human Services.
Health and Human Services. There we go. All right. Anyhow, new range here between 136 and 130 right now, trading towards the upper end of the range, 134. And at this point, come on, UPS, just break out. Same here. Facing some resistance, gathering the troops, and now break through resistance, and then up here towards our cost basis. Right now, my break even is right here at 133. The 27 will be lowered by $1.63, the dividend payment. So, I mean, I'm okay the way how I'm positioned here, but I'm ready to get out of UPS. What about you?
I'm ready to move on. It's a good company, good stock, but this has been trading in some other ranges that were a little bit lower than I expected when I initially got in. So I can move on from this one.
We definitely can move on from this one. All right, let's see what the markets are doing overall here. Going back to a 5-minute chart of the S&P in just a moment, but before we do, it is the time of the day where we have our dad jokes. So I have a super bad one today. So what do you got for us? Please tell me you have a good
Mark.
one.
Well, I mean, it's Taco Tuesday in some parts of the world, but for us, it might be Spicy Tuesday. You said yours is bad. I think mine is pretty bad too. Oh boy. A naked man walks into a psychiatrist's office. The psychiatrist says, "You don't need to see a thing. I can clearly see your nuts."
Okay. It's a bit disappointing, but
Disappointing.
okay. All right. So let me ask
I
you
guess
this.
I'm just cracking myself up.
Yeah. Why did the chicken cross the road? Because.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that if people could downvote those two jokes, they could. Don't judge the show by the jokes.
No. Race to the bottom here. On the other hand, race to the top here in the indices. Looking at a 5-minute chart of the S&P 500, we are trading at session highs. Look at this. Even at the Dow, still not positive for the day. S&P already has turned positive. Nasdaq up and away right now. Also, right now, the IWM, the Russell, positive, and the VIX dropping below 16 again. So it seems that traders are investors are shaking off what's happening in Eastern Europe and Russia, there in Ukraine and Russia, and we'll see what happens today. But right now, for the markets, it is up and away.
Yes. Yep. So shaking it off, and looks like investors are now waiting for NVIDIA.
NVIDIA tomorrow. But hey, who knows what happens today after Putin issued this nuclear warning, if the US administration will respond to this or just stay quiet for now. Long story short, there's never a dull moment in the market. So you want to make sure that you tune in again tomorrow. Hit subscribe, and we really appreciate it if you gave us a like for today's show. Comment afterwards and say, okay, which of the dad jokes was the worst? And then anyhow, there's a lot of good stuff in the show. Please, 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 please share it with anybody who might find this content helpful. There's a share button somewhere here on the page. And then we'll see you again tomorrow.
Happy trading, everybody.